Good afternoon, Winnipeg High School Hockey League fans. Into this edition of Scholasticks, we're live right now on our main website, gshow.ca. Hope you're doing well. On this Friday afternoon, it's currently 22 minutes after the hour. And yeah, excited for what's to come in another edition of the Scholastics podcast. As we got two guests joining today's show, we're going to take you around the most recent standings, stats, and most recent scores from around the league. And then we're also going to show you all three divisions, what they got coming up to end off the month of January as we slowly. Not slowly, actually, as we quickly approach playoff time now, as there's about only 2 weeks left in the A Division season, and then about 3 weeks left in the B and C division seasons as for regular season, and then we move into playoffs, of course. But one of the players from the B division that's going to be joining me is standout forward from the Gabrielle Cavaliers in Logan Barnabe. Logan has been an essential part of Gabrielle's success this year, leading the team by quite a few points. We did this interview last week, and one of my biggest takeaways from that conversation with Logan is not only a kid that's passionate about sports, but passionate about high school sports specifically. And even though he does have a strong passion for not only hockey, but mainly volleyball, as he comes to tell us, a big passion of why he plays sports is the camaraderie that he gets to experience with friends and building bonds through that. So, excited to have Logan Barnabe joining the show next here to start things off on this edition of Scholastics. Logan Barnabe, number 12 of the Gabrielle Cavaliers, joins the show next. And how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Barnaby or Barnabe?
You could just say Barnaby.
Barnaby. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Logan Barnabe joining this edition of the Scholastics podcast, the Winnipeg High School Hockey League podcast. Logan, your Gabrielle Cavaliers are over 500, 8-6 around middle of the pack in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League's Winnipeg Free Press division. You've had yourself a great year, on pace for a career year. What's the experience been like so far this year? Your third year now with the team.
Oh, it's super fun. Anyone who asks me about high school hockey, I highly recommend it. It's just so much fun. It's highly competitive, and you just if you want to play other sports, it's super free. The coaches are always super understanding. It's oh, it's great. It's great hockey. I've been loving it. Yeah, it's my third year now, and yeah, I had a great rookie year. My second year was okay, and this year it's been going great. So nothing to complain about.
You speak about the experience of high school hockey, and I think the coolest experience from a fan's perspective is literally being a fan going to the games because some of those crowds are packed. Like your game against the CPAC Canadians at the Francophone or Tournoi Francophone when it was a packed house, a bunch of students there. What's it like being a big time player and playing in moments like that, and also thriving in front of crowds like that?
Yeah, it's fun. It's always nice to you hear them chirping, you kind of want to shut the crowd up a bit. And then on the opposite, when you're at home and you have a big crowd, it's always nice to hear them. It's always very helpful, and it's fun to see when your friends from high school come out to the games. It's just super exciting. You obviously want to play good in front of them, so it's nice.
Yeah, and you are quite a passionate high school sports player. You don't only play hockey, but you play volleyball. I'm not sure if you play any other sports. I know that volleyball season has come to an end now, but what's that been like? Not only being a multi-sport athlete, but being able to represent your school with pride.
I love it. I love high school sports are they're just so much fun. I mean, volleyball is my main sport, so it's my most competitive. And then I play basketball just because I love basketball. It's just for more for fun. I'm not as good as it, but it's fun. And then yeah, I just honestly whatever I have time for, I try to do because it's just always fun to play with your high school friends. Once you're done high school, there's a chance I never see those guys again. So I just try to spend as much time with them as I can. And yeah.
I mean, very fair. Honestly, the only person I've seen from high school consistently is probably my cousin because that was one of
Yeah.
the people I've gone to high school with. And I mean, just in terms of Playing hockey, I didn't play high school hockey, but played with a group of guys where we barely see each other anymore. And at the time, you feel like, it's gonna last forever, right? So I think that's a great point and a very mature answer from yourself. What's that been like this year, seeing that maturity, I guess, come through being a big leader on this team?
Yeah, I mean, I always try to look back to my rookie year. Like, I mean, I looked up to my 12th graders and they were just like, to me, they look like grown men. And now that I'm in 12th grade, I'm like, there's no way they're just like I am now. Like, it feels like nothing changed. So I try to be a good role model. I try to push my teammates as much as I can for hockey and volleyball, obviously. But I just remember looking and like they're honestly they're pretty scary when I was in 10th grade. It's so hard to see myself looking up to them, like seeing how big they were, and now I'm in their shoes, and I try to keep the same mentality to try to be like a good role model for my younger teammates and try to create a good path for them so they can have a successful high school career.
I think that's a great point too, right? Laying the foundation for what's next for that next generation of Cavaliers, right? And I think that's a great way of looking at it in retrospect when it's all said and done. Your impact off has been significant, but before we get into that, just touching on the multi-sports thing, like you said, volleyball is your favorite sport, your main sport. Obviously, you're a great hockey player. You play a lot of sports just for the fun of it, right? Like you just said it and repping your high school. But are there any skills from those sports that you've been able to take away and to intertwine between each one, specifically hockey?
I mean, for me, like I started with hockey. Volleyball was later in my career. Like I grew up playing hockey, so I think hockey helped me with my other sports. So like just like having a great like lower body really helped me for volleyball. Like I've that hockey, those hockey legs really helped me in my volleyball. And then yeah, I mean also seeing the ice really helped me for volleyball. As a hockey player, you're always looking up, like you're always scanning the ice. And I feel like in volleyball, I always had an advantage because I could always see the court a lot better than other people could. So I wasn't necessarily jumping super high, hitting super hard, but more finding space on the court to hit at. So I think hockey helped me with my other sports more than other sports helped me with hockey.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, man. Just being able to use any sport and
Yeah.
intertwine the skills, I think that it just makes you a better athlete, as they say, right? And I think it's kind of proven, in terms of some of the best athletes in the world, have been able to excel in multi sports. So, yeah, I mean, awesome that you've been able to have this experience with your high school, being able to do this, and of course, Gabrielle, team that is middle of the pack, like I mentioned. What's this season been like in particular compared to other ones going up against this type of competition this year?
Yeah, we definitely started off hot. Like we were on a high. We kind of started to slow down, but I feel like after this winter break, our first two games back, I mean, we had a game today against Louisville. We lost 5-3, but I thought we put up a good fight. And like I think after this winter break, we're gonna start picking it up a lot. I think I can definitely see improvements from the start of the year, which is honestly all you really want. You just want to see your team and yourself improve. So I think the second half of the year is going to be really good for us. I think we're gonna pull off some nice couple wins from the teams that are above us, climb back up to where we belong. I think we belong in that top four, top three category up in our division. And our division's like it's really competitive. I find it's nice that like uh top four team could lose to a bottom four team. Like it's really close, I find. There's not a huge skill gap in our division, which is all you really want. You don't want to be blowing out teams and you don't want to be
Right.
getting blown out by teams. So
Oh, fair enough. And I mean, speaking about improvement, this team last time they played Louisville ended up losing 6-1
yeah.
to take a team like that is undefeated to this point in the season, 15-0, I guess 16-0 now at this point to bring it that close. I feel like that says a lot, like you said, about where this team's improving to so close to making that next step.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean we're getting there. We're changing up a few of our strategies, but like the way we play our Cavs hockey, we're changing it up a little. So it's taken a bit of getting used to. It's just like things we've grown up. like teaching, like stretching the ice. Like we're really trying to, if our defense have the puck, we're really trying to get out of the zone. Whereas we all grew up playing where we don't leave our zone until the puck gets out, you know? So it's hard like trying to change things up, but we're getting there. And I think the more we practice it, the more we'll be more comfortable and we'll pull it off in games and it'll all be good by the end of the year.
You're a pretty important piece to this group. 32 points. The next best on this team in terms of production is Austin Bodette and Colin Legacy and Caleb Collette all with 12 points. Of course, like you said, a younger team this season. But, for yourself, coming off of a year last year that was, in retrospect, comparing it to your rookie year, a bit disappointing with the
Mhm.
point drop. Now you're on pace to having a career year and shattering that 36-point mark with the 32 points, 24 tucks as well. But what would you say is kind of led to your bounce back year this year? Is it more confidence, training in the summer? What exactly would you say has kind of led to this type of magical final season for yourself?
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily confidence. I was pretty confident last year coming off my rookie year. I think it's just, you know, sometimes I'm more focused on volleyball. Sometimes
Right.
like volleyball is my priority. So I think last year a lot more it was my priority. And now that it's my last year, I'm kind of trying to even things out between the two. And like I was pretty stressed last year with volleyball, just trying to find a place to play next year. And I did find a place to play next year. So now that I have that, I'm more stress free and it just makes everything easier on the ice. And it's honestly like I have a lot of friends on this team. So like I enjoy more coming out to the ice and it's just, yeah, it's fun to play.
Well, right on, and congratulations, finding that next step
Yeah.
in any sport, especially when you love in volleyball, is great. Where are you going to be taking your talents next there?
It's not released yet. It'll be released in a couple weeks. So I guess, yeah, I'll just wait for that to come
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, it's good work there. I
Yeah.
think that's smart. Did not know, of course, it wasn't released yet. So yeah,
Yeah.
very excited to hear about that and looking forward to where Logan Barnabe is going to be taking his talents in the volleyball world. But this season, 24 goals already, a career high by a bit of a margin. You scored 21 goals back in your rookie season. Speak about your shot. What makes you so effective as a shooter?
Honestly, I think it's just I just like going to the ODR with my friends. And honestly, I think over the winter break, I like noticed my shot was getting better. I just tried a couple new sticks. And honestly, yeah, I don't really know. It just kind of clicked for me this past year. I mean, I always noticed that shot was definitely like one of my bottom tier skills compared to maybe my handles or my skating. So I really tried to focus on that more on my off time. Like if I'm going to ODR with my friends, really trying to just focus on my shot. I found it, yeah, just honestly using my stick more than trying to use like my actual body, like utilizing the flex and trying to like take advantage of the stick instead of just trying to like actually use my wrist or my arms to shoot the puck. So I think that's definitely helped a lot.
What's your brand? What's the go-to? Do you have one or
CCM, CCM, yeah.
CCM? Right
I
on.
was forever I was just CCM tack. I didn't care as long as it was CCM tack, and then I broke one, so I now I have a ripcord trigger 10 or something, I think. So yeah.
Oh, the classic Reebok
Yeah.
throwbacks, the
Yeah.
combination. I was always a Sherwood guy myself.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of those lighter sticks. Is that
Yeah.
how you like them too, on the lighter side of things?
To be honest, I'm not really in like yeah, I prefer a light stick, but to be honest, I don't really know too much. I just like my P28 curve and my 65 flex. That's all I really need. I don't really some of my teammates are always like talking about the new stuff and I'm just so lost. I'm not in the hockey world like that.
Yeah, honestly, for myself, I just pick up a stick if it's light enough and the price isn't like $300.
Yeah, if it's not too
That's probably
expensive,
good enough for me. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I like that. I like that a lot. For this team moving forward, big game coming up against JH Bruns on Friday, a game where we're going to be at in Ile-des-Shane. First time back at home since I guess a week ago at that
Yeah.
point on the road to start things off. How nice is that going to be to be able to get in front of the home fans again?
Yeah, it's nice. cold rink, but the ice is nice and fast. Yeah, it's nice to always see the home crowd. See, like I have lots of family. I have lots of siblings that are older, so they like to come out to my games. So it's always nice seeing them in the crowd. And yeah, it was nice. I got last time my whole family was there, and I had five against who was it? Uh, the last home game we played. It was our first game. Stonewall.
Stonewall. Yeah.
Yeah, I had five against them, and my whole family was there, so it was nice to see them. So it's always fun playing at home.
Well, looking forward to potentially another type of showing like that, maybe this Friday in a few days. Logan Barnabe of the Gabrielle Cavaliers, very passionate about school sports, and I absolutely love that. Looking forward to seeing what this team can do on Friday and moving forward this year, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. It was lots of fun.
That's Logan Barnabe, number 12 of the Gabrielle Cavaliers, joining this edition of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League podcast called Scholasticks, brought to you by Elite Prospects, Goaltenders, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, and Movement Fitness and Performance. As for Logan, the season he's had so far this year, as just to give you an update on his numbers now, since the last time we've spoke, his team has been in action. But for Logan, 15 games played, 34 points, 26 goals. The next best on his team would be Colin Legacy at 10 goals in 14 games played. So, yeah, Barnabe has been, like I said, a huge part of this team's success this year. He's been their MVP. Clearly, the offense goes through him on this team. And for Gabrielle, is that going to be a recipe for success come playoff time if teams start to play him tougher, which they already have, and Gabrielle started off as the top team as this season was getting started and have now fallen to 9-7 in the standings. We'll see if his supporting cast can start to step up more around him. As before we get into bringing in the next guest for this episode, just want to take you through the league, what's been going on from all three divisions, as the Vincent Massey Trojans find themselves back atop of the standings, a point ahead of both Oak Park and Sturgeon Heights, really tight in the top four right now, as we can see, and then there's a clear separation afterwards of 10 points, so 3 full regulation wins, and then a extra time point separating Steinbach from Garden City. I guess they have 4 more wins than Garden City has, but yeah, kind of see how things get put into place right now. After Miles Mack, there's a 6-point drop-off between them and the St. Paul's Crusaders. So, yeah, just taking a look at the standings, top 4 might have separated themselves a bit, but we're seeing teams like St. Paul starting to play a lot better this year. Was really impressed by their efforts against CJS a few weeks ago in a game that we ended up covering. This is how this week has gone so far in the Platinum Promotions division, as yesterday saw Vincent Massey, Shaftesbury, as well as Steinbach coming away with victory. Steinbach and Shaftesbury took 1-goal games for them to win, and that's huge for Shaftesbury, as that's only their 4th win of the season. Congratulations to them on getting a big win against Lord Selkirk. The game that wasn't as close, though, my former school, College Belleville, falling 6-1 to Vincent Massey. As for College Belleville, they won't be back in action for the rest of this week. They will be back in action next week when they're going to be going up against one of the best in the league in the Steinbach Sabres. On Mondays, there's going to be 3 games in the league going on. Then there's only going to be one Tuesday game. CGS is going to be taking on Oak Park, and what's going to be a really good test for CGS as well as Oak Park, as CGS has seen some good improvement throughout their season this year. Although they're looking for a big bounce back, we take a look at how they fared this week, and CGS falling 3-1 to Steinbach on Wednesday and starting off their week with a 3-0 loss to the Huskies. potentially the game of the month, one of the games of the year, though. A game that we'll be covering next week will be the Vincent Massey Trojans taking on the Oak Park Raiders at Max Bell Center on Wednesday as a part of 3 games on that day. Only 1 game on Thursday, and then 3 games on Friday to end off January with some good ones on the schedule, especially that Oak Park and Steinbach game that will be going down at Eric Coy Arena. Oak Park, a big reason why they're one of the best teams in the league. They got a loaded offensive group, but the real key players have been stepping up big time for them this season. Top duo in the league in Karsten Ross and David Sadowski. Clear top 2 in points right now. Jace Anderson's continued his great season at 39 points and 15 games played. Aiden DeLay leading the league-leading Vincent Massey Trojans in not only goal scoring but in points. And then we see Easton Therian making his way into the top 5 as well. As for the goaltenders, they've pretty much stayed the same. The goaltending tandem of Dick and Barnes for Vincent Massey is now top 2 in best goals against averages in this league. That's just a testament to how they've been playing and how their team has been able to succeed in front of them. Other really good notable goaltenders in here too, including Amore and Fry, 2 notable ones here with really good save percentages. Full stats, statistics on the Winnipeg High School Hockey League's website at winnipeghshl.ca. As for College Louis Riel, they still remain undefeated in the B division as 4 points separate them as well as the Dakota Lancers, but keep in mind that Louis Riel has played 2 less games than Dakota. They're the only true undefeated team left across all 3 divisions, as we had a chance to see Louis Riel in action on Wednesday as they handled the last place CSLR Renards, Leo Remillard, pretty handily. The top end teams in the league getting the job done quite handily. On Thursday as Springfield and Dakota both coming away with big wins. This Friday in the league, we got some good matchups on tap. I'm most curious about Calvin and Stonewall. Stonewall's a team that's pulled off some stunners at certain points in the year, and of course looking at, well, the standings heading into this one, Stonewall, one of the bottom tier teams compared to the Calvin Clippers. But Calvin, as the year is going along, they've proven that it's not a guarantee that they come away with wins against the lower-end teams in the league, as we've seen CPEC come back against them as recent as the end of the December schedule in a game that we covered here on game day. But as for the statistics here in the league, Luca Tro, him and John Thomas Cavell didn't even play on Wednesday against CSLR, and, well, a player like Jacob Traeger really stepped up as he ended up having a multi-point night. He's now 3rd in the league in points, 2 points behind Toby Hobday for the Springfield Sabres. Louis Riel with so much depth, so much talent up front, and then their goaltending's been pretty solid so far too. Zachary Prescott, even though he's only got an 850 save percentage, hasn't faced too many shots this season. Ben Gagne has had stronger numbers overall. Overall, it's a Louis Riel team in front of their goaltenders that really don't give up that much action in front of their goaltenders. But as for next week in the league, we're going to be seeing some decent matchups. Really intrigued by Churchill and Louis Riel, given that Churchill's just been climbing up the standings more and more as this season has gone along. Another good game, a game that could be pretty fast, Gabrielle and Dakota. That's going to be going next Thursday. There's going to be 3 games in total on Friday, and hey, this division gets Tuesday off too, so there's going to be 2 Monday games to start off the week next week in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. But as for the Niverville Panthers, they're the only team that has yet to drop a game in regulation here in the C Division, and what's even more impressive about that group is that it's only their 2nd year as a program in total. So the man who was head coach last year is head coach of their team again, in Brandon Lockerby, and he joined me last week on the show to do a pre-recorded interview talking about what the journey's been like from last year to this year. He spoke about how huge the continuity has been, how that's helped out big time from last year's team to this year, and talking about what that journey's been like this year specifically on how this team has been able to start off as well as they have and come together to put together a real special season here in their sophomore season, where the term sophomore slump hasn't applied here at all to Niverville this year, and it was really great to catch up with their coach and Brandon Lockerby. Before we do that, we're going to throw it to our first commercial break of the day.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
Head coach of the Niverville Panthers and Brandon Lockerby joining this edition of Scholasticks. Brandon, this team, it's their second year in existence in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, and looking pretty darn good in year two. 14-0-1 to start things off. Take me through what that journey's been like so far this year, just seeing this program continue to boom the way it has.
Yeah, so far this season, we were fortunate enough this year we had quite a few returning players from last year's team, so it was a lot easier as a coaching staff to kind of start right from where we left off last season. I thought for a first year program last year, we had flashes of success and then flashes of a brand new program too. So there was certainly a lot of positives that came from last year and lots that we can work on carrying into this season, and having that core group return again this year with the additions of new players certainly made it easier to build off of what we started last year, and I think it showed early on with our success overall in our records for sure. So
Couldn't even imagine myself what that would be like, being a part of a process of starting a whole new program up from scratch, and obviously laying down the foundation last year into this year. But take me back to last year, what those challenges truly were like as a first year program, even though you said there were some highs last year as well along the way.
yeah, well, I think the first thing is definitely the uncertainty of what we were offering as a program. I think for all those that played on the team last year, between them and their families, they took a chance on us because they didn't know what to expect. But I thought, as the season progressed, I think a lot of families saw that there was a lot of good that came from this. Certainly for a high school team, there's a lot of appeal for the players where we play exclusively Monday to Friday with the exception of tournaments. So for those that have other interests in their lives, they have the ability to still go and do that on their weekends. And having those weekends open, certainly gives them a lot of freedoms and abilities to do other things in their life, which is certainly something we want to promote to the players as well. So yeah, with any new team, there's always going to be some challenges. I mean, for us, we had a lot of different players coming from different programs. So bringing everyone together into a new team and new concepts, there was a lot of learning last year at the beginning of the year. But I think the players did a very good job of adapting to that. And, it took a little longer than we had hoped for to kind of gel as a team, but once things started to click, I think we started to see the success, not only in our record but in our play as well. So
Right. And that success has led into this year where the team's, like I said, 14-0-1 to start things off. And like you said, obviously that factor of the unknown, maybe a bit scary for some parents. I don't know if scary is the right term exactly, but there's always a lot of questions that may come with that, right? Can you let the viewers in on what you felt like this staff did a really good job in terms of just laying down the foundation and establishing that culture, what exactly the culture is for this Niverville Panthers squad?
Yeah. Well, I think for us, it was just, trying to learn what, trying to learn all these different players and their abilities, trying to find the strengths within each individual, and then, as a team, trying to figure out how those strengths can be built into our success as a program. Obviously with different personalities and different characteristics and different styles of play in each individual, it's trying to figure out what's going to work collectively as a group. And of course, there's always going to be things that we need to improve on or build on as the season progresses. So just spending that time individually, not only one on one with the players, but obviously collectively as a whole with systems and different tactics in the game, certainly, over time and a lot of time on the ice, it certainly was demonstrated with improvement throughout the season. So
And I mean, this season so far, a team that is the first to reach 100 goals in the Price division, a team with a lot of depth throughout the lineup, and a team that's also been pretty good defensively as well, only 33 goals allowed. Now, actually getting to see what it's been like, the progression of this program through 15 games, was that the hope this year to see not only that progression, but to see this team's offensive ability really shine in terms of that depth.
yeah, I think I think even ourselves, I think we'd be surprised at what our record is to this point. Certainly as a still new program, I think we didn't envision this kind of success this early on. But I think that's a testament to the players and their efforts and hard work throughout the last year. And for those that have been on the program for 2 years, their last year and a half of play and their effort on the ice as well. So, um, yeah, certainly we're coming to a good string of luck here with our offensive abilities, but I think as a team we should be proud of minimizing opportunities in our own net, where we have only given up just over 2 goals a game, which is great to see. And on any good team, defense is going to go a long way to being a successful team too. So not only have our goaltenders been really solid in net, but I think the foundation in front with our D group and then our forwards also committing to defense as well is certainly a positive as well. And if we do a good job on our end, they have the opportunity to be successful and be rewarded on the offensive end too, which has happened this year. So that's been great to see.
And as that old cliche goes, defense wins championships, right? And I mean, that's reigned true still throughout the modern day of sports. When you take a look at, the NHL and just a lot of levels of hockey, right? Pretty much all levels of hockey. But for this team, second year having so much success already, like you said, maybe even a bit surprising to see how great it's truly gone for this team, it being such a young program. But how much hope and just excitement does that give yourself and members that are involved in with this team now of what the future it could hold for the years to come in the next few years for this program as it continues to build?
Yeah, no, I think it's for us, it's, because we still are relatively new, it's great to see that we are having success. I think if you're somebody who's on the outside that's kind of following our group and what we're doing, as far as myself goes and the rest of the coaching staff, trying to garner interest from players coming here down the future is, I think, with the success, I think that certainly helps. Um, but I think it also has to do with what we do in our practices and obviously with our weekly schedule and how we build it into our school setup with their schedule, with their classes and hockey, I think it's certainly interesting for a lot of kids. And I think even when you compare last year to this year, we certainly had a larger number of students try out this year. And I think that's also just knowing what we've built from year one to year two now. And I think just seeing that and what the players from last year's team had built in terms of a foundation has obviously created a buzz and an excitement for others to want to be a part of this program too. So it's great to see. By no means are we certainly complacent and settled on that. We have a lot of work to do still. And, being a new program and hockey being new to our school, there's a lot of things that we need to iron out in terms of, the balance between hockey and school, and just the way that hockey is an extension of our school and how we act not only at the arena but also at school too. So that it's a lot of things that we still got to work on, certainly, but there are a lot of positives to take out of the last year and a half that for myself as the coach, and I think when speak to our school and the other coaches involved in the team, and then not and the players as well. I think there's a lot of positives, not only now but moving forward as well. So
Pretty sweet too that the arena is just a walk away. Pretty sweet facility this team gets to play in as well. And gotta say, big fan of this team's jerseys. Some of the sharpest from around the Winnipeg High School Hockey League's three divisions out of what I've seen so far. But this team feels good, looks good right now, and the results have spoken to that this season. A close game to start off the year, a close win against Linden Christian. Of course, a team that this team has played a few times. Been some really good competitive matchups between the two so far this year, but overall, there's been a lot of times where this team has been able to run away with games, but as the season's gone along, obviously teams have been playing this team closer. Take me through that, knowing that this team not only is able to put out that high output of offense, but like we've spoken about, also playing a really good 200-foot complete game and minimizing chances.
yeah, well, and I think it comes back to the number of returning players. We were fortunate enough that I think we had 14 returning players this year, so that's that's certainly beneficial for a team starting out early in the season. And I know with a lot of other teams, there is always a big turnover, and we're going to come to face with that in the future too. But knowing that we had that many players return, we could pick up right where we left off, and I think that was part of why we had some early season success and why a lot of games were, a little more lopsided than they were in the past. But um, over the course of the season, we've started to see some of these teams a second time, and they're improving and looking a lot stronger now, and certainly catching up to where we're at too. So, the games are definitely going to get more competitive as the season goes on, and we expected that. And my job and the rest of the coaching staff's job is to prepare our players accordingly to you know, match that competitiveness and be ready to succeed on the ice. So, yeah, we're looking forward to a very strong ending of the season. We expect every game to be a playoff like style of game. So, I think that's not only exciting for us as coaches, but certainly for the players because we want every game to be challenging and difficult because it only makes us better, not only now in season, but if we move on into the playoff season, it's going to help us then as well. So,
Right, and you spoke about tough opponents, especially to end off the year, a back-to-back against Lorette, going up against Warren too to start off February, and well, coming up a really big test again tomorrow, as this interview is being recorded on Wednesday night, but facing off against West Kildonan last Friday. This team was down 4-2 heading into the third period and came back, forced overtime, and got the victory. Going to be a tough test again. Do you feel like that's huge for this team too, knowing that they were able to go through adversity like that at this point in the season and prove to themselves that they could get it done?
Yeah, I think so. And like you said, we haven't had a lot of close games this season, but it's certainly good for us to be in those situations. And, it's a good test on our players to see if they're able to rise to the challenge when we are down a goal or two and see if we can come back in those games. So um, I didn't think it was our best game the other night when we did play West Kildonan, but I'm certainly happy with the way that our players responded late in the third period and battled and worked to get those 2 goals late in the third to tie it up. And then obviously we scored in overtime to seal the victory. But no, we're going to face a lot of that moving forward here. And, my job is to make sure our players are prepared that, we're going to have peaks and valleys in every game. And when, things aren't always going our way, we got to stay the course and try and find a way to get those victories. So there's a reason there's 50 minutes and the game doesn't end till the final horn. So, there's lots of opportunities, and we're a team where if we can get one, we can get goals and flurries too if we're playing the way we are capable of. So, yeah, so we're hopeful that you know we're not always going to end up in that situation, but when we are in that situation, we're prepared and we're able to play through that and manage that manage that time appropriately. So,
And it's funny you bring up game's never over, and it truly is never over until that final buzzer. It's just, I feel like throughout my time of watching and playing sports, the 2020s have had some crazy comebacks throughout, and of course, a crazy comeback last week for this team to lift themselves over West Kildone. And looking forward to that one tomorrow. It's going to be on our network. We're going to see Brandon and his squad down at Seven Oaks, and yeah, should be a fantastic game. Brandon Lockerby, head coach of the second year Niverville High School Panthers, joining this edition of the show. Brandon, best of luck tomorrow and moving forward this year.
thank you. I really appreciate it.
And that's Brandon Lockerby of the Niverville High School Panthers joining this edition of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League podcast, Scholasticks, as we've had a chance to cover them twice this month already. We'll be broadcasting a game between them and Kildonan East next week in Division C, so that should be a lot of fun. But Niverville entered into this month, of course, as one of the top teams in the league. Their spot at first was given up for a few games, but they've been able to start off this month quite strongly in the win column in January, as they're undefeated to start off 2026 so far. They've had some close games in there, but still that high-powered offense has been coming through. 7-0 victory this past Tuesday against Windsor Park Royals, and then taking care of business against Edward Schweier in a long road trip for Niverville, or maybe not as long as it would be if you were to come from Winnipeg going to Beausejour, but they were able to come out with a 3-2 victory. And the thing that makes this Niverville team so much to handle, I've spoken about it before, but it's the amount of depth that they have on this squad. The only players that haven't put the puck in the net so far have been a couple of defensemen, and only one forward hasn't scored this year for them, but he's only played 9 games as well, and Hayden Hyduke. As for their top end point getters, this is a team with 4 different goal scorers with at least 13 goals apiece. Their leading point getter and goal scorer has been Emery Gonzaga, who, taking a look at this season compared to last season, is on pace to take in the next step in his game, as he's already at 33 points in 18 games played, had 41 points in 22 games last year. So, like Brandon Lockerby talked about, Coach Lockerby, that is, felt that last year was just one of those seasons where there was a lot of learning, their players building chemistry with each other, and that continuity this year has not only led to them being more connected as a group, but also seeing their players taking that next step in the point categories this season. And they've also gotten some pretty solid goaltending, most notably from Levi Brandt, which we've had a chance to cover both of his starts this month for Niverville. Going to be interesting to see who they start coming up next week against Kildonan and East when we see them next. But yeah, this is where Niverville sits right now. First place team by a 2-win margin right now, as they're 2 wins up on the Warren Wildcats, as Warren continues their defensive dominance this year. Clearly the best defensive team in the league. Offensive numbers not quite as gaudy compared to the rest of the teams in the top 4, as we can see. As for the teams outside of the top 4, Murdoch McKay has had a really solid record this year, a really solid season for themselves. Their goals against, goals for differential is on another level compared to the teams behind them, as, once it gets to John Taylor, that goals for, goals against differential looks not the greatest for these teams. But, of course, come playoff time, all of those stats are going to be erased, and we basically start a new season. And I feel like this year in the C Division, it could have the makings of, well, either we see a bunch of upsets, or maybe those top-end teams really do come to play and, prove why they did finish so high in the standings and cruise through the first few rounds of the playoffs. But as for how this week has started, there were 2 Monday games in the league. Murdoch, McKay, and Niverville never had their score reported. For Niverville, however, it wouldn't really matter for them, as next game they came away with a 7-0 victory at home against Windsor Park. West K with a huge win against Kildonan East on Tuesday. John Taylor losing in a close one to Edward Schreier. And then, of course, Edward Schreier yesterday continued to play some close hockey, this time falling to the best team in the league in the Niverville Panthers. Lorette with a strong victory yesterday. Murdoch McKay with a strong victory on Wednesday. Warren John Taylor, I don't believe that score has been reported. I believe might have been canceled due to just how cold it is outside, and if Warren's school division closed, then that game, of course, couldn't have happened if school divisions closed. That's one of the golden rules here in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. But for this Friday, hoping that all of these games get played. I know we'll have one of them coming up on our network later on, as it'll be the West Kildonan Wolverines taking on the Windsor Park Royals at St. Vital Centennial Arena. Our coverage is going to get going at around 4:15 p.m., and we're going to have an ATC broadcast media student on to call the game, which, he's seen a bit of improvement in his calls. You might have heard him twice already, but excited to see how he continues to get better as well today on our crew, as it's been a great experience for us to be working with students in a program that I used to attend. So kind of coming full circle here all these years later, 6 years to be exact, as I graduated out of that program in 2019. I guess it would be more so 7 years at this point, since it's no longer 2025, it's 2026. Like I always say, crazy how time flies and goes by. But as for next week in the league, we've mentioned it already. We will be covering Niverville and Kildonan East on Tuesday at 4 p.m. at Gateway Rec Center on the blue ice. Other notable matchups next week in the league: Windsor Park Pinawa, battle of 2 bottom tier teams this year. Those are always matchups that have potential to be pretty entertaining. Kildonan East having to travel all the way to Lundar Arena to battle the Kodiaks. That should be interesting to see how the bus/car legs affect Kildonan East. And as for the Lundar Kodiaks, with their first year being in the league, this is a big game for them, with some big points on the line in the standings, as they look to, as the season comes to an end, move up a few spots within that bottom 5, as we can see there. As for the point getters here in the league, no player has been more impressive, in my opinion, than Anderson Fisher in this division. Just the fact that he is a defenseman leading all players in points on a Linden Christian team that has relied on him heavily this season. Great to see he's been able to carry that load this year. Spoke about Emery Gonzaga. He finds himself tied for third in the league in points with West Kildonan's Luke Benera. Also, shout out to Brody Krellin as he appears in the top 5 once again with 31 points in 18 games played. Talked about Warren's goaltending. I've talked about it so many times and will continue to because, well, Mason Clausen finds himself not only with the best goals against average in the league, but pretty sure the best save percentage. He's also got 4 shutouts, which is tied with Cole Ellens. He's been having himself a really strong season for Lorette. Going to be a huge part of their success down the line. So will Clausen, and all these goaltenders on their list for their teams is an interesting trend. Some of the divisions we've seen, not all teams' goalies are exactly in their teams being in the top 4 in terms of placements in the standings. Well, as we see here, every single goaltender featured has their teams in the top 4 in the Price Division, which is Division C here in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. For full statistics, standings, stats, or I guess statistics is basically, well, it is the same thing as stats. It's just the abbreviated version of the word. I'll rephrase that. For full statistics, full standings, and full upcoming schedules and results from around the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, be sure to check out their website at winnipeghshl.ca. As we are 2 minutes before 1:15 on this Friday afternoon, we're getting geared up, of course, like I said, for West K taking on Windsor Park. But before we do that, we're going to send it to one more commercial break, and then I'll finish off with some final words on this edition of Scholastics.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back into Scholastics. If you made it to the end of this episode, thank you for doing so. This marks the end of episode 12. I want to thank Logan Barnabe and Brandon Lockerby for joining the show. Brandon Lockerby, of course, head coach of the Niverville Panthers. So special to see what they're already doing in their second season of existence as a program. For their sake, hoping that this season's success can bring in even more talent into tryouts next year. Always a good thing when a program's able to start off with so much success. You hope that the plan and the goal falls into place, that that only grows the program bigger, right? So really excited to see how Niverville ends off their season. Same with how Logan Barnabe, his magic, how far can it carry this Gabrielle team? And will other players start to step up even bigger around him? Really excited to see that down the line in what should be a really, really good Winnipeg Free Press Division playoffs that will be starting in a few weeks' time from now, same as the Price Division. I want to thank, of course, Logan for joining the show, as well as you, Winnipeg High School Hockey League fans, for tuning into this one. If you are new here, or if you've seen the show before and haven't subscribed, consider doing so and turning on notifications so you don't miss a future upload of this podcast and everything else we produce here on the network. Also, another thing we're doing for now, I'm just going to be releasing all the games that we broadcasted in October on our Uscreen service for the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, which will include regular season content and our coverage from the Husky Classic. These hopefully will be used to garner up some excitement to see what our full games are all about, and for you to consider potentially paying for some upcoming games, as we're going to have a few next week in the league, and we're going to be covering all 3 divisions, of course, then, as well as covering all 3 divisions throughout the playoffs. So if you ever can't make it to a game, our Uscreen service is a perfect way to not only tune in, as you'll be able to watch the full live stream with play-by-play commentary, analysis, a scoreboard, and all the good stuff, but a portion of your money also goes back to the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. So even though there is a price attached, that money goes to a great cause for you to help support the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, to help continue to grow this beautiful league. Speaking of support, thank you to Terraco Movement Fitness and Performance, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Goaltenders, and Elite Prospects for sponsoring another edition of this show. We'll be back again next week for an all-new edition with all-new guests. Until then, I've been your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth, wishing you a wonderful and safe weekend coming up, Winnipeg High School Hockey League fans. Hoping that you stay warm during what's been a really harsh cold spell here in January. Hoping that it warms up soon, but hey, that's what Winnipeg/Manitoba winter is all about, right? We hope you stay warm, stay safe, and enjoy all the great hockey coming your way, not only today, but this weekend from all the great leagues in this province of Manitoba. Until next week on Friday, we'll see you again. Take care.